Let me say this first, okay? There's a lot of internet gangsters that like to, for some reason, they want to show that they know more about basketball than I do. And I'm not on here to prove that I'm the most knowledgeable, which I'm not. People just like to hear me talk about basketball. I don't know, maybe it's my personality, it's been my voice. I like to be funny. I think I know something about the game. But I'm not here. It's not a contest. I noticed something too. I noticed that with certain channels out there, right, you can clearly tell that they don't watch the games. They just read press clippings and they speak in generalities. Oh, LeBron James is one of the great players of all time. And, Kyrie Leonard, he's a stud. Chris Paul, yeah, he's really, he's great. Right? And then you'll have people in the comment section who look like me and you, and they'll talk about how great his channel is. Then, for some reason, a guy like me, they just want to always try to prove I'm wrong or something. They might make fun of my garbled syntax at times. I'm not a polished public speaker, okay? I think for somebody who grew up with a speech impediment, I think I speak pretty well on YouTube. Everybody, if you listen to them make little mistakes, okay? I challenge a lot of people on here to make over 1,300 YouTube videos and try to never make some type of error when you're speaking, okay? Number two, I think a lot of people really don't listen to my videos. Like, if I make a video and I say why I think that Russell Westbrook's season this year, in my opinion, is more impressive than Kobe Bryant's season, they hear Westbrook is better than Kobe. Kobe ain't shit. No, my nigga, you gotta understand, my nigga. My nigga Gasol, Bynum, okay? Motherfucking goddamn Meta. Ain't none of these motherfuckers done shit without Kobe. Nigga, don't challenge me, my nigga. Don't challenge my basketball nigga partner. Don't challenge my basketball knowledge partner. And I'm like, I'm not trying to challenge anything. You need to listen to my videos and understand that this isn't a question about who was better or who's a better basketball player. I just said who I thought had a more historically impactful season. And I think it was Westbrook. That was my argument. Not about who was better, who had... and I seeded in the video, if you listen, you internet gangster, wankster, fucking idiot. If you listen to the video, I even admitted that Westbrook's teammates are better than Kobe's. But that's the thing about a lot of people. They don't listen to videos and just want to comment. Then when I call you out on that, then you want to, make some point about something that absolutely doesn't make any sense and nobody cares about. But I just wanted to get that out there, man. Then there's another guy out there that another person that don't listen to my videos, and this, in his profile picture, he looks like a young George Jefferson or something. Or he looks like that dude off of Barney Miller, the detective, the black dude. If for some reason, he wants to say that my facts and stats are wrong and all this. And, Google is a person's best friend on here. All right. I know I'm rambling. This has nothing to do with what the title is talking about, man. But I tell you guys, if you guys do YouTube, man, when your channel gets a little bit larger, you get a lot of comments that really get under your skin, man. But I try not to let haters get to me. That's why I'm not saying any names, not giving guys any shine. Now, if somebody, like, challenges me or questions something I say, but they're respectful, you know, uh, I'll debate them, and that's great. But people who like to put other people's down, I'll never put another channel down like that. Never. Never. If you guys notice, I always try to give people shout outs because that's the type of person I am. People have done it for me, and I'm going to do the same thing. But enough of that negativity, enough of the nonsense. Let's go to what's you guys want to listen to. Let's talk about basketball, okay? Now, the Los Angeles Clippers hosted the Utah Jazz in Game 1 of the opening round of playoffs. And I got to say, man, I am convinced now that the Clippers never should have left Buffalo back in the 70s, man. They should have never left Buffalo, man. There's always been this talk about the Clippers curse. The Clippers curse. And I don't know, man. It might be some truth to it, man. Because 15 seconds into the ball game, Rudy Gobert goes down for Utah Jazz, right? And Rudy Gobert is their MVP. I'm talking about for the team. He's a strong candidate, a very strong candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. Coming into his first ever playoff game, right? Averaging 14 points, nearly 13 rebounds, leads the NBA in blocks, 2.6 a game. This been in the 90s, he'd been closer to 4 blocks a game because the style of play was different. He had more of a slashing style with players, and he could have had more opportunities to block some shots. And shooting 66% from the field. And he goes down with 15 seconds to go. If you're the Clippers, you're thinking to yourself, matter of fact, if you're just a viewer of the game, you're thinking, okay, Utah's going to wilt now. Their player, their marquee guy, I guess. Well, they have a lot of different players, but, their anchor, I'll put it like that, is gone. The Clippers, in theory, should have beaten the hell out of Utah tonight. But I think what happened was, and you see it happen before, it usually only happens that one game. There's usually a rally effect, sort of like when a key player goes down for a team, whether it be injury or sometimes even with ejections or whatever. The emotions of that, it just sort of inspires everybody else in the team to just play on another level or at the highest level that they can play. And that happened with the Utah Jazz tonight, in my opinion, okay? Like I said, Rudy Gobert goes down, and Gordon Hayward comes in, and he does the board work, 19 points, 10 rebounds a game. Okay, Boris Diaw was solid, 7 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists. Okay, George Hill, who many of you guys remember from his days with the San Antonio Spurs and the Indiana Pacers, he's a very good player. For younger guys who are just starting to watch basketball, he's a good player. George Hill, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Okay, Favors was solid, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. All right, but the man today was Joe Johnson. I'll talk about him in a moment. All right, for the Clippers, well, DeAndre Jordan, 10 points, 15 rebounds. Blake Griffin, 26 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Chris Paul had a magnificent game, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 11 assists. But like I said, I think with the rally effect, man, Utah just kind of took it to the Clippers, man, and the Clippers been the whole game they were like coming back. They were trying to come back into the game, and Chris Paul being the competitor that he is, all right, made a improbable floating bank shot with like 13 seconds remaining in the game. But that man I talked about earlier, Joe Johnson, the Jazz did not call timeout. Joe Johnson was going against Jamal Crawford, and Joe Johnson, under some really good defense, made a shot that, it was for a while, it didn't look like it was going to go in. It careened off the backboard. I thought it was a little bit too hard, but it settled in off the backboard and went in, and as time expired, and the Utah Jazz came away with a stunning 97-95 victory, and they take a one game to nothing lead over the Los Angeles Clippers. And wow, I want to say this about Chris Paul in defense, okay? A lot of people will say Chris Paul's a loser, he's never won, yada, yada, yada. When you think of all the great big little men in NBA history, right? Think of all the great little men. Nate Tiny Archibald, when he was a one-man wrecking crew with the Kansas City Omaha Kings in the early 1970s, right? Early to mid-1970s. As great as he was individually, right? He didn't win a championship until he was surrounded by talent with the Boston Celtics, with Larry Bird. In 1981, that's when he won his first and only NBA championship. All right? You think of Allen Iverson. Some people think is the greatest little man of all time. Definitely is up there as far as the conversation's greatest scorer, as far as little man is concerned. But as great as he was individually, his talent alone was never enough to beat the great teams. He never won an NBA championship. Think of Calvin Murphy, 5'9", 165 pounds, but was tough as nails. As tough as nails. All right, was one of the best defensive players in the league. And I know this sounds weird, but he was 5'9", but he was an enforcer. That's how tough he was, man. Calvin Murphy could scrap, right? But as great as he was, the Houston Rockets were never able to win an NBA championship. And he played with Moses Malone. But outside of he and Moses, those teams weren't really all that great, All right? The one little guy who won was Isaiah Thomas, the Detroit Pistons' Isaiah Thomas. And that wasn't until he had a lot of talent around him. Earlier on, Isaiah Thomas was brilliant individually, putting up like seasons with 24 points and 12, 13 assists a game. But it wasn't until he got guys like Joe Dumars and Bill Laimbeer and earlier on Adrian Dantley, but Mark Aguirre later on, and John Salley and Dennis Rodman, Rick Mahorn. It wasn't until he got these excellent cogs that fit in the right places and they knew all their roles that they finally started winning. And this is the thing about the little man. As great as a little man might be in NBA history, and I guess you have to put Bob Cousy in this too. Bob Cousy was tremendous individually for the Boston Celtics the first couple years of his career. But he didn't start winning until he got Bill Russell. Bill Russell and some of these other guys, right? What I'm saying is, as great as a little man can be, this still will be, no matter how much you want to change the rules, this is a big man's league. And what about Stephen Curry? Yeah, but you still have to have some type of effective big man or bigger players. You know, 3s, 4, or 5s. You gotta. This is a big man's league. And if you don't have effective bigs, or at least, if you don't have effective bigs, if you don't have talented 3s or 4s, maybe to offset not having a great big, you're not going to win. You know, the point guard position is effective, but only to an extent. You know what I mean? And that's the thing I feel about with Chris Paul. Chris Paul is great. He is, despite the injuries, he still is a Hall of Fame player. But if you don't put enough talent around a Hall of Fame point guard to make everything work, it doesn't matter. And that's the tragedy to an extent of Chris Paul, man, because this guy should be one of the faces of the league. Where Stephen Curry is, that's how Chris Paul should be marketed, but he's not. Now, let me talk about the man of the hour, Joe Johnson. I think with today's shot, Joe Johnson has 8 game-winning buzzer beaters in the past 10 seasons, which is the most in that span. And earlier this month, I believe it was, or it might have been late last month, I did a video asking you guys, as I knew Joe Johnson was near 20,000 points, whether or not he was a Hall of Famer. And the answer I got was probably a 70% resounding no. Great numbers, but where are the memories? Where are those moments that stay etched in fans' minds to differentiate between a player who's had a successful career, very good career, but not legendary career, and those legends that we tend to think about? And I think that a moment like this that Joe Johnson had, 35 years old, this is the same guy that the Nets cut and various teams thought about getting him, but ultimately passed up on getting him. They kind of regret that now. This is the type of moment that Joe Johnson probably lived for a very long time, to be on a great team, or at least a very good team, a good playoff team. And if Joe Johnson and the Utah Jazz in particular are able to upset the Clippers, if Joe Johnson is able to continue with having memorable performances against great teams, even if they're in losing efforts, this will stay in fans' minds. The playoffs stay in fans' minds. See, scoring 40 points against the Charlotte Bobcats in game number 48 of the regular season, it's nice. But games like that tend not to stay in fans' minds. What stay in fans' minds more so are you scoring 27 points off the bench in a win in the playoffs, or you scoring 25, including the game winner against a Spurs team or Golden State Warriors. That stays in fans' minds. And if Joe Johnson's able to do that this postseason, and maybe the next couple of postseasons, I'm pretty sure then that the perception of him by many people, as far as whether he should be in the next Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, will likely change. I expect Game 2 of this series, I expect the Clippers to throttle this team. That's just me. especially if Gobert doesn't come back for game 2. I think that rally effect subsides. I think the Clippers know the sense of urgency that they're in now. I expect the Clippers to absolutely eviscerate the Jazz in game 2, but I could be wrong. Tell me what you guys think.